Hello beauties, and welcome back to the Bumpy Bones Locksport channel. In this video, we're going to be picking open and gutting this Federal Lock 720B padlock. So let's go and get started. Now, the Federal Lock 720B is actually a really fun lock to pick open. It uses an AM5 keyway, so it's the same keyway as the American Lock 1100 series, but I find this to be more challenging than the American Lock 1100. This is a 6-pin lock versus 5 pins in the American Lock 1100 series. And you get a mix of security pins in here. We have a standard pin, you have spool pins, and you have an anti-bump barrel pin in here. And what makes this a little bit more challenging is the core is also countermilled. So in terms of difficulty, it's not ranked on the Lockpickers United belt system, but I did mark mine with a green belt because it does use the AM5 keyway. It is comparable to the American Lock 1100 series. It's a little bit more difficult because of the countermilling, but I would say that this is around a green belt level in the Lockpickers United belt system, but as I said before, it's not currently ranked. So let's go ahead and pick this open. So as always, I always like to show the lock working and all that. And what I'm going to be using to pick this guy open is I'm going to be using my wall lock tools. So I'm going to be using my top of the keyway 1.2 millimeter pry bar. And I'm going to start with my Tipene Teardrop pick, and this is in the 0.5 millimeter width. And I also have my Reach Diamond or DeForest Diamond, and also I think it's the Bijou, B-I-J-O-U pick here as well, kind of as a backup. And we'll see how things go with this. So let's go ahead and grab our vise and get picking here. So let's throw this in here. And I am really loving this vise from the Lockpicker's bench and all that. It's turning out to be a really good vise, one of my favorites here. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab our pick and let's change over so that we get our clicking. Alright, so I'm actually going to be using heavy tension to start here. I notice if I go with light tension, everything feels springy. So to get started, I want heavy tension. Alright, so nothing on 1, nothing on 2, 3, yep, there we go. Alright, nice click on 3. Let's go 4. Nice click on 4, 5. Nice click on 5. And, alright. Let's go to 1. A little movement on 1. 2. Nice click on 2. Let's hit 1 again. Alright. So 3, 4. And there we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and gut this guy open now. And let's go ahead. Now, gutting this is actually a really fun process because this lock is a bit unique compared to other padlocks that are in my collection here. In the order to gut it, we have to remove this retaining clip here, the retaining bolt and all that. But as you notice, it's under the shackle. Normally, like when we're doing like the American Lock or even like the Abyss or Pack Lock, they have the retaining bolt under the side of the shackle that you remove and all that, which makes it easier to access. But this guy, you have to remove the shackle in order to gut it. Now to do that, there's this little button here that you have to press. So I'm going to take my pokey proddy thingy, and I'm just going to press that, and you're going to notice that the shackle kind of pops out. It doesn't go shooting because the ball bearing holds it in place, and you can just grab that and pull it out. Alright, so now that we got that, we take our Allen wrench and we can get to the screw there, and it's a very small screw, so it doesn't take much to remove it. As you can see, just a few turns, and you can see just how small that cap is. And now what we can do is we can slide this off. Now sometimes what happens, the retaining bolt, because the spring is pushing that, keeps pushing it out, so you do sometimes just have to push that in order to slide out the cap here. So let's go ahead and get that out. And there we go. Now we can remove our core. Do be a little bit careful because there is a anti bypass plate in here. And you want to be a little careful in removing it because getting it back in can be a bit fun. So I'm actually going to try to slide this guy back in right now as we're thinking about it. There we go. So you can see how I have it in there. When you put this in, you want to make sure that you have the clip on the locking mechanism there accessible so that when we insert the core back in, you can rotate the key and it doesn't block the key and all that. So, all right, so we're going to put that there. Let's go ahead and remove our C-clip, and this one is a pain in the butt to remove. It goes around a little bit more than the American lock one does, so I always have a hard time in removing this one. All right. Oh, come on. There we go. Almost. Nope. Ah, shoot. Come on. All right, so what I will do in this case is I'll take a toothpick, jam it in there, and then I can take this now and use that toothpick to stop that from sliding. But what you want to be careful of is you can cause this to go ping and it go flying and then it opens the gate to oblivion and you will never see it again and then you'll cry. So you do want to be careful doing that a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and take our core out and see what is in here. I am going to shim the lock. I am trying to get a little bit better when it comes to my gutting and getting more consistent with shimming because I've had a few close calls lately. And it's always a good idea to shim and all that. So we're going to do that. We're going to pull our core out, and let's get our key pins out here. And actually, I'm going to use my other pinning mat here because my lighting's a bit bright, and so I want to be sure I can show everything here. So 1, 2, 3 is a bit hard to get out because it's a 0, but there we go. All right, 4, 5, and 6. All right. And let's go ahead and get our security pins out. So 1 is a standard pin. 2 is a spool pin. 3 is our anti-bump barrel pin. 4 is another spool pin. I think the rest of these are going to be spool pins. 5 is spool. And then 6 is another spool. And let's go ahead and dump our springs as well. All right, there we go. And actually, I do want to show that because I think there is a bit of a difference with the springs, which is kind of cool. So I'm actually going to throw those into a different area there. All right, so let me go ahead, and what I want to do is I actually want to zoom in just a little bit here, and I want to change my focus because I want to show the core first. And what we're going to notice with the core is you can see the countermilling in the core, which is kind of cool. That's that little line there. It's not really pronounced. It's not a very deep countermilling. But it's just enough that it will interact with the spool pins and that anti-bump barrel pin and add just a little bit more of a challenge to that pick. And then here are our security pins, and so we can see here that we've got some really nice spool pins. We've got our anti-bump barrel pin, and then we've got our standard pin, and then the key pins are also serrated, which is also a nice little touch. Now, what I noticed is this is the spring in pin 1, and then these are the springs for the rest of the pins. I think they have a higher, I don't know the exact terminology, but this is a stronger spring than the others. And I was noticing that when I was picking it, was that pin 1 I had a harder time lifting than the other pins. So I'm thinking that they're throwing in some different strength springs with this as well, which is actually really kind of cool and all that. All right, so let's go ahead and reset our camera here, and let's reassemble this guy. So what I want to do is I want to grab my core holder here, and let's get our key pins back in place. So here's one. Geez, my hands are not wanting to cooperate with me right now. And here's 2 and 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what I want to do actually before I put my security pins in the Bible here, I want to show kind of how these interact here. Because one question I had was, if you look at the spool pins do have a wide lip on them, wide edges on it. So would those interact with the counter milling? And pin 6 is actually a zero lift pin, so I'm not going to do that. Pin 5 actually probably doesn't engage much with the counter milling. Pin 4 definitely would engage with the counter milling. And then pin 2 probably, oops, let's see here. Get that in there. No, it doesn't look like it. So it's really pin 3 and pin 4 are really the only pins in this keying that will interact with the counter milling. And it actually does a good job. I can actually feel it when I am pulling the pin out. I can actually feel that counter milling pretty well on it, so that's kind of cool. All right, so let's go ahead and throw in our springs. And so what we want to do is let's throw in just the regular springs here. So there's 6, 5, 4, turn it around, 3, 2, and then the higher spring in 1. All right, and let's go ahead and put our security pins back in place. So here is 6 and 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I got the follower here from 44 Delta, and I gotta say I really like it. I've actually got the full set over here. You can see my holder here. And they're actually pretty good followers. I've been using them a lot and all that. So let's go ahead and throw our shim in. Alright, so our shim is in place. And let's go ahead and put our core in. And lock it, and let's go ahead and put our clip back on. All right, and test just to make sure that we're good. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and slide this back in. And because I did remove that bypass plate, I do just want to make sure that I can twist that before I do anything. And let's go ahead now and put our retaining cap back on, or retaining plate back on. All right. And let's go ahead and get our bolt back in place. There we go. All right. So again, I always love to check and triple check just to make sure. And what I notice is when you're reassembling this, getting the shackle back in can be a bit tough. So the way that I do it is I use the key, and I use the key to unlock it so that I can get the that back in. And once you get that back in and it's kind of held in place, what you can do is you can then remove the key, and then you press that button here again, and you just push the shackle back in, and there we go. We have our reassembled lock, and it is fully working. So these are really fun. I do recommend them. They're not terribly expensive. It is a European-based lock, so you know, when I ordered it, I did get it from Germany. So I did have to pay like $20 for shipping, but the lock itself was like 30 some, between 30 and 40 bucks if I remember right. So it really isn't that bad of a cost with it. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. As always, do feel free to like and comment on my videos and subscribe to my channel. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I will see you all later.